America watched him stumble on stage drunk for 40 years, but his own kids just revealed he was faking the whole time. December 1975. Dean Martin walked onto The Tonight Show looking like he had just left a bar. His tie was loose. His eyes looked tired. He could barely walk straight. Johnny Carson started asking questions, and Dean gave answers that made no sense. The audience laughed so hard they were crying. For 20 minutes, Dean acted completely drunk on live television. Millions of people watched. Everyone believed they were seeing the real Dean Martin, a fun-loving guy who drank too much but was so charming nobody cared. But here's what those millions of viewers didn't know. Almost everything they saw was fake. The whole drunk thing was an act. And the real story behind how Dean fooled America for decades is way more interesting than anyone imagined. Dean Martin was born in 1917 in a small Ohio town. His real name was Dino Crocetti. His parents came from Italy and didn't have much money. Young Dino hated school. He quit in 10th grade. He didn't want to study. He wanted to make money and have fun, so he took whatever jobs he could get. He worked in a steel mill where the work was hard and dangerous. Then he tried boxing. He called himself Kid Crochet, but he wasn't good at fighting. His face was too pretty to keep getting punched. After losing more fights than he won, Dino knew he needed to try something else. He started singing in local bars and clubs. At first, nobody paid attention. He was just another kid trying to make it. But Dino had something special. He had charm. When he sang, he made it look easy. He didn't try too hard. He just stood there with a microphone and somehow people loved it. He changed his name from Dino Crocetti to Dean Martin because it sounded more American. Slowly, he worked his way up from tiny clubs to bigger places. The money was still bad, but people were starting to notice him. Then in 1946, everything changed. Dean met a comedian named Jerry Lewis. They decided to try working together for one show. It was magic. Jerry was wild and crazy. Dean was cool and smooth. They were total opposites, and audiences ate it up. Within a couple years, Martin and Lewis became the biggest comedy team in America. They performed in packed nightclubs. They made movies that broke box office records. They appeared on every big television show. By the early 1950s, they were rich and famous. But success brought problems. Jerry wanted to control everything about their act. Dean wanted to be treated as an equal partner. The fights got worse and worse. Behind the scenes, they started hating each other. In 1956, after 10 years together, they broke up. It was nasty. They didn't speak for 20 years after that. Most people thought Dean's career was finished. Jerry was the funny one. Jerry was the star. What was Dean going to do without him? Everyone expected Dean to fade away and be forgotten. That's when Dean did something smart. He needed a new image, something that would make him different and help people forget about Jerry Lewis. A comedian named Joe E. Lewis had an act where he pretended to be drunk on stage. He would stumble around and slur his words while telling jokes. People thought it was hilarious, so Dean and his team decided to copy that idea. They would turn Dean Martin into the lovable drunk, the cool guy who always had a drink in his hand and never worried about anything. The plan worked perfectly. Dean started carrying a glass on stage during shows. He would take sips from it and make jokes about drinking. He acted slightly tipsy. People loved it. Here was this handsome singer who looked like he was having the best time ever. Not caring about problems, just enjoying life. It was the perfect image for that time period. Dean became more successful alone than he ever was with Jerry Lewis. He had hit songs that topped the charts. He starred in movies. He joined Frank Sinatra's famous Rat Pack along with Sammy Davis Jr. They performed in Las Vegas. They made movies together. They lived like kings. In 1965, Dean got his own TV variety show. The Dean Martin Show ran for 9 years. Every week, millions of people tuned in. Dean would walk out with his glass, sing some songs, tell jokes, and bring out famous guests. The drunk act was the main appeal. Viewers loved watching Dean pretend to be buzzed while he entertained them. It felt spontaneous and real, like you were at a party with Dean instead of watching a scripted TV show. The show became one of the most popular programs on television. But here's the big secret that most people never knew. The whole thing was fake. A writer who knew both Dean and Frank Sinatra said that Frank actually spilled more alcohol than Dean ever drank. Dean's own children said years later that their father never went on stage drunk. It was all acting. The glass Dean always carried? Usually it was apple juice or something without alcohol in it. The stumbling and slurred words, all practiced and rehearsed. Dean Martin was actually very professional. He showed up to work on time. He knew his lines. He took his job seriously, even though he acted like he didn't care. The drunk character was carefully planned. It made him seem fun and easygoing. It gave him something unique that other performers didn't have. It let him get away with jokes that might seem rude coming from someone else. If Dean forgot your name or insulted you, people didn't get mad because they thought he was just drunk. It was brilliant marketing. So what really happened on that famous night with Johnny Carson in 1975? Dean came out looking messy. He seemed like maybe he had a few drinks before the show. But was he actually drunk? Maybe a little bit. Maybe not at all. By that point, Dean was so good at the act that nobody could tell the difference anymore. He had been playing this character for almost 20 years. He knew exactly how to walk, talk, and act to seem drunk without actually being drunk. What made that Carson appearance so memorable wasn't just the drinking part. It was Dean's perfect comedy timing. When Johnny tried to talk about Dean's upcoming TV special, Dean playfully avoided the question. He mixed up an actress's name on purpose. Or maybe by accident. It didn't matter. The audience was dying laughing. Dean could make anything funny just by how he said it and when he said it. That takes real skill. The interesting thing is how people's feelings about drinking changed over the years. In the 50s and 60s, being drunk seemed funny and cool. The Rat Pack drank all the time and everyone thought it was great. By the 70s and 80s, things changed. People understood that alcoholism was a serious disease. Drunk driving became a big issue. Making jokes about drinking wasn't as funny anymore. But Dean's character was so famous by then that he could keep doing it. People understood it was an act. It was part of entertainment history. Dean worked with another comedian who also did a drunk act. Foster Brooks became famous for playing a drunk character. He appeared on the Dean Martin Show many times. The two of them doing drunk bits together was comedy gold. Dean would act slightly buzzed while Foster acted completely smashed. The contrast made both of them funnier. They played off each other perfectly. What was Dean really like when the cameras weren't rolling? People who worked with him said he was professional and nice. He didn't party as hard as everyone thought. He was actually a homebody. His daughter said that no matter what work he had, Dean always came home to eat dinner with his family. He valued his privacy. He didn't go to Hollywood parties unless he absolutely had to. When his TV show finished filming each week, he went home. Not to nightclubs or bars, home to his wife and kids. The man on stage drinking and partying was a character. The real Dean Martin was quite different. Dean did drink in real life, but not like people imagined. He enjoyed wine with dinner. He might have a scotch in the evening. But he wasn't drunk all day every day. He couldn't have kept his career going if he was. Think about it. He recorded albums. He filmed movies and TV shows. He performed live concerts. All of that takes focus and discipline. You can't do that if you're actually drunk all the time. The fact that millions of people believed he was drunk constantly proves how good his acting was. There were times later in life when Dean probably drank more. In 1987, his son died in a plane crash. That tragedy destroyed Dean. He never got over losing his boy. His drinking may have gotten worse during that sad time. His health went downhill. He became more isolated and alone. The fun character slowly faded away. Dean Martin died in 1995 at age 78. The cause was lung problems from years of smoking. Looking back at those old TV appearances now, you can see how smart Dean was. He created a character that made him one of the most loved entertainers of the 20th century. The drunk act wasn't about promoting alcohol or making fun of alcoholics. It was about creating a persona that was fun, relaxed, and friendly. Dean was the guy everyone wanted to hang out with. The guy who didn't take himself too seriously. The guy who was always ready for a good time. That's why people loved him so much. That Carson appearance from 1975 is still famous today because it shows Dean at his best. He was completely in control while looking completely out of control. Every stumble was timed perfectly. Every confused look got laughs. Every slurred word was planned. Johnny Carson was one of the smartest and quickest hosts in television history. For Dean to throw him off his game shows just how talented Dean really was. The truth about Dean Martin is more impressive than the myth. The myth says he was a drunk who somehow stayed successful despite his drinking problem. The truth is he was a brilliant performer who created a character so convincing that everyone believed it was real. He took a simple gimmick and turned it into an art form. He made it look easy when it actually took tremendous skill. That's what separates good performers from great ones. People today might not understand why the drunk act was so popular back then. Comedy has changed a lot. What seemed hilarious in 1975 might not work now. But you have to understand Dean Martin in the context of his time. He represented a lifestyle that millions of people found appealing. He was successful but not snobby. He was sophisticated but not stuck up. He enjoyed life but didn't lecture people about it. He just was who he was, or at least who he pretended to be, and people connected with that. The genius of Dean's act was that it seemed effortless. Great performers make difficult things look easy. Dean would walk on stage with his glass, sing a song perfectly, tell some jokes, and act slightly buzzed. It all seemed natural and spontaneous, but every part of it was carefully crafted. The song choices, the jokes, the timing, the way he held the glass, the way he looked at the camera, all of it was planned and practiced. But the audience never saw the work behind it. They just saw Dean having fun. Another smart thing Dean did was never breaking character in public. Whether he was on a talk show, at an awards ceremony, or doing an interview, he was always the same guy. Always cool. Always with a drink nearby. Always seeming slightly amused by everything. This consistency made the character feel real. If he had acted totally different in interviews versus his show, people would have figured out it was fake. But Dean stayed in character for decades. That level of commitment is rare. The relationship between Dean and his audience was special. They felt like they knew him. He wasn't some distant star. He was like a friend who came into their living room every week to entertain them. That connection was partly because of the drunk act. Drunk people seem more honest and real. They say what they're thinking. They don't put on airs. So when Dean acted slightly drunk, audiences felt like they were seeing the real him. The irony is that the drunk character was the fake part, and the sober professional was the real Dean. When you watch old clips of Dean Martin now, pay attention to the details. Notice how his stumbles never actually make him fall. Notice how his slurred words are still perfectly understandable. Notice how he never actually seems out of control. A real drunk person would mess up. They would forget lyrics or miss cues. Dean never did, because it was all an act performed by a true professional. The legacy Dean left behind influenced countless performers who came after him. Comedians learned from his timing. Singers learned from his smooth style. Actors learned from his ability to create a believable character. The drunk lounge singer persona has been copied and parodied hundreds of times, but nobody did it better than Dean Martin. He invented it and perfected it. So next time you see a clip of Dean Martin stumbling around with a drink in his hand, remember what you're really watching. You're not seeing a drunk guy who happened to be talented. You're seeing a talented guy who pretended to be drunk so well that he fooled the entire world. That's not just entertaining. That's genius. Dean Martin wasn't just a singer or an actor or a comedian. He was an artist who created one of the most memorable characters in entertainment history. And he did it so well that even today, decades after his death, people still believe the myth more than the truth. Click to see what other Hollywood legends were hiding behind their public personas.